Hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of MongoDB tutorials. So in this tutorial, we will understand how to insert a document in our collection. So in the previous video, I have shown how to create a database and how to create a collection. But in this particular tutorial, we will know how to insert it. कि हम एक नया document और या फिर multiple documents कैसे insert कर सकते हैं. Okay, so let's start today's video. So first of all, the default configuration is importing the PyMongo library, establishing the connection with our server, which is default, and then go to a particular database, which is, let's say, my database in this case, and then go to your particular collection. So in this, I have created a collection which is records. So in the my database space, so if I run this particular thing, then I will have the number of database that I have currently in my system is admin, config, local, which are defaultly available whenever we install MongoDB, and I have my database, which I have created, and then in that particular my database I have records. So let's see what are the contents of it. Uh, I have five records with me available. So which has ID of this and name and roll number. So I have name and roll number stored as a single document. So I have inserted five documents previously, so that I will continue to do so. So first of all, understand what is a single document in a MongoDB collection. Okay. So what constitutes a single document? So it can be anything. To be precise, it is the liberty of this NoSQL databases कि हम कुछ भी कोई भी number of fields enter कर सकते हैं as a document. So in this case, I have name and roll number as the two attributes or two data की कुछ values. Instead, I can also increase the number of attributes for a case, and I can similarly decrease as well. So that is the beauty of it. So, but if I just clearly think, I have an example here as well. I have the first in if you see the first two rows or the first two documents, I have name as Raj and roll number as 29. They are both same. The records are same, right? Roll number is also same, and the name is also same. But still they exist because their ID column is different. So here underscore ID is a unique column or unique attribute, which its job is to uniquely identify each and every document. So if you have studied database management system in your in your college curriculum, where you study relational databases, so in that, primary key is one such attribute which is unique in the whole database, and it is used to uniquely identify each record, right? Similarly, we have underscore ID here. So if we don't assign a particular unique ID, which is underscore ID, then it will automatically get assigned, which is the alphanumeric value, something like this, the 60 AFA and something. So this is an object ID, right? But we can assign our own as well. We just have to write, let's say, so also one thing, if you in a document is specified as a dictionary in Python, when we want to insert a new one, right? So this is essentially a dictionary structure. We have block markers, and then we have a name key value pair as the attributes and its particular value. So if I assign underscore ID here and give it to a value, let's say 521, right? And if I use this particular thing, then uh, this particular will be 521 will be assigned instead of object ID, which is defaultly generated, right? So that is the one thing to note here. But also, but in this case where हम खुद assign करते हैं कोई ID, so we have to make sure on our end that we don't repeat any ID. Obviously error आ जाएगी, but हमको ट्रैक रखना पड़ेगा कि हमने किसको कौन से रिकॉर्ड कौन सी आईडी असाइन की है. सिस्टम में तो होगा ही होगा, बट let's say if you have 2000 3000 records or documents to be stored, then it is impossible for you to go and see each and every record that क्या ये आईडी मैंने यूज की है पहले. So in that sense, it becomes difficult when you have your own IDs to remember. So this was about a document in MongoDB. So let's try to see how to insert one in your collection. So first of all, I will declare this doc as name, which is Alex, and roll number as 31, right? So I will assign this particular dictionary to a variable which is doc. Okay. So how to insert a single? Let's say I have a single document and I want to insert it into the collection. So the syntax is very simple. We have to write the collection name, which is, let's say, my collection, because I have declared it. I use records as the variable my collection. So I will use my collection dot insert underscore one. So insert one basically specifies that I'm inserting a single document in the collection. Okay, and I have to simply write the value or the variable name of the document, so which is doc, right? So if I run this particular thing, then I will be returned an object which is stored into the collection, right? So to capture that object, I have to use a variable which is, let's say, x. Okay, so it might be a confusing for you now if you are studying it for the first time, but it's very simple. That you are inserting a document and it will return an object which will specify if that insertion was successful or not. So ये just indication देगा कि आपने जो operation perform किया वो successful हुआ है कि नहीं हुआ. So if you want to see if this is successful or not, you can simply run this and you will get x is a PyMongo results, insert one result at this particular location, right? So if we want to see the attribute, you can simply write dir x. So what is x? So x has this many attributes, right? So one thing to note here is the inserted ID. Okay. So if you want to know what is the inserted ID of the recently जो हमने ऐड किया है document, उसका ID क्या है? For let's say reference purpose or something like that. So I can use this particular attribute, right? So if I write x dot inserted ID, right? If I run this, I get the ID which is similar to this particular ID, right? So that is how we insert it. So let's say if you want to check our insertion is successful or not, we have to just write this simply 2 lines of code for I in my collection dot find. This is the for loop statement in Python, and I have to print whatever the I is. So I is here the document. If I run this, I get this particular list of documents. So if you see at the bottom, I have the new record which is Alex with roll number 31 inserted, right? So this was how to insert a single document. Let's say you have multiple documents to be inserted. Let's say you have 5 or 6 or even 100 of documents to be inserted at a single time. Then what we have to do is we have to make a list of dictionaries of all such documents, and then we can insert it directly, right? So let's say I have this 4 students to be inserted into the records. The name is Nitish, roll number is something, Deepak, Shantanu, Murtaza, and similarly their respective roll numbers are there, right? Okay, and so I have made each of these as a dictionary form, and then I have made it to a list, right? So if you can see this square brackets are for list in Python. So and each of them is separated by a comma. Okay, so I will name it as docs, right? Now if I want to insert all of this at once, then I have to simply write again the collection name, which is my collection dot insert underscore many, and then I have to simply write docs. So again, this will return a list of objects because I am objects. So it will be a plural form because I am inserting multiple objects or multiple documents at a time. So I have to somehow store it. So how can I store it? Let's say I store it in a variable x. Again, so you can take any variable, but for simplicity, I will use x. Okay. If I do this, so first of all, I have to run this and then this. So I think it is successful. If I want to see the IDs of my object, I have to simply write x dot inserted underscore IDs. So if I run this, I get 4 object IDs in a list form, which is obviously unique in nature, and this will specify that okay, my insertion was successful And if I want to see what what does the collection look like, I have to simply run this code again, which is my collection.find, and print all the documents. So I will get, so if you can see, there are 4 new records, which is Deepak, Nitish, Shantanu, and Murtaza with their respective roll numbers, right? And all of them having unique underscore ID attribute, right? So this was about using the specific variable as such. But there is one more catch here. If you can directly, instead of taking it as a variable, you can directly use the dictionary as well. How? So if I want to insert the single document, so instead of specifying the variable name, I can directly use something like this: my collection dot insert underscore one, and I can simply write the dictionary as well, which is, let's say, name, which is, let's say, XYZ for now, and its equivalent roll number, which is again in double quotes or single quotes, whatever you like, and then let's say a value of 49. If you run this particular thing, it will also insert the record. If you don't want to specify a variable, then you can specify it directly as well. Similarly, in the case of insert many, you can do the same thing, but you have to write this particular syntax directly in space of docs. But for simplicity, we use a variable name so that we can track it at any point of time, and we can also utilize this particular list. So that was about inserting the records or documents into the MongoDB collection. Thank you.